It's a beautiful day in Oakland for the Raiders home opener, week 2 of the NFL on CBS. The Raiders welcome the 1-0 Houston Texans with Steve Berlon and Steve Tasker. I'm Andrew Catalan. We thank you for joining us here from Oakland. Today's game is being broadcast in Spanish, where available using the SAP button on your television. Moments away from kickoff, the Raiders won the toss. They have deferred the black hole. They are charged up. Houston will get the ball to start. And Damaris Johnson back deep for the Texans. Sellout crowd here in Oakland, and Sebastian Janikowski set to kick it away for the Raiders. Oakland trying to stop a 7-game losing streak that dates back to last season, and a touchback for Janikowski. The Texans will start at the 20-yard line. Ryan Fitzpatrick in his 10th year in the NFL, his 5th different team. He's trying to beat the Raiders with his 3rd team. He beat them in Buffalo. He also beat them last year with Tennessee. Big news injury-wise for Oakland. Maurice Jones-Drew is inactive. He will not play today. Darren McFadden will start at running back when the Raiders get the football. Arian Foster is next to Fitzpatrick. It's 1st and 10 for Houston. And they give it to Foster on 1st down. Has some room up the middle. And he comes just short of a 1st down. As we take a look at the Houston offense, Chris Myers, his 139th consecutive game, longest active streak among offensive linemen. And future Hall of Famer Andre Johnson can still go and get it. 6 catches, 93 yards last week in the win over Washington. 9-yard gain for Foster. It's 2nd and 1. And Foster falls forward for a 1st down. As we take a look at the Oakland starting lineup on defense. And it's the former Texan Antonio Smith starting up front. Spent 5 years with Houston. At linebacker, Nick Roach is out again with a concussion, so Miles Burris starts in the middle. And Charles Woodson still getting it done. His 17th year in the league. Had an interception last week in the loss against the Jets. 1st and 10 for the Texans. Fitzpatrick's pass to Johnson. He gets away from one, gets across the 35 to the 36-yard line. So you take a look at Bill O'Brien, his 1st year with Houston after spending 2 years at Penn State. Got a win in his debut last week against the Washington Redskins.
You know, Andrew, one of the comments that Ryan Fitzpatrick made to us in talking about this highly complex offense that Bill O'Brien has installed here in Houston is that you have to be a smart player all the way around to play in this offense. And Ryan Fitzpatrick believes they've got a lot of smart players in this team.
On 2nd down, the slant to Johnson is broken up, but a penalty comes in. Chimdi Chekwa on the coverage. Today's referee is Brad Allen.
Pass interference, defense number 35. Spot foul, automatic, 1st down.
Well, one-on-one coverage, as we've seen for so many years from the Oakland Raiders, coming in from the right part of your screen, right where Fitzpatrick throws it. Chekwa just got there too quick. Watch, he comes out and grabs, and that right arm hooks the arm of Andre Johnson, and that's where the penalty was called.
Raiders did not have any penalties in the 1st half last week against the Jets. They get an early one here in week 2. Foster is bottled up. And that's C.O. Moore making the tackle.
Great penetration by C.O. Moore, the draft choice last year, who's just in a bottle of energy speed-wise and very, very athletic. He penetrates into the backfield. That does not happen very often against the Houston Texans, especially with Arian Foster running the football, getting hit for a negative yardage play. He always gets to the line of scrimmage or across that line when they hand him the football for the most part.
1-yard loss on the play. It's 2nd down and 11. Pressure coming again. Fitzpatrick to Foster out of the backfield, and that's a big thing when we met with the Texans that they talked about. Bill O'Brien wants to use Arian Foster as a receiver a lot more this year.
Yeah, and he was very excited about it. And all the guys we spoke to are really, you'd think that, wow, players, I don't know if they like this complex offense. All the players we spoke to really like it because it's challenging and it keeps everything fresh. It could be a completely different type of offense week to week, and it'll change as the game plan changes.
3rd down and 2 for Houston. They were 50% on 3rd downs last week. Fitzpatrick looking for Johnson, and he makes the catch for a 1st down. Chekwa on the coverage again, and Andre Johnson moves the Texans into Oakland territory.
Well, both Steve Tasker and myself both felt this ball got tipped coming out of Ryan Fitzpatrick's hand. It kind of just floated in the air out to Andre Johnson, but I'll tell you, he walked into the room with us yesterday, and I thought he takes up the full doorway. He is a big, big man. And right there, Chimbi Chekwa, to get around a receiver the size of Andre Johnson and make the play, very difficult to do. Great play by the big receiver.
Johnson's now made a catch in 118 consecutive games. Foster going right at Charles Woodson. Woodson went for the strip. Foster gets 6 on the play.
Yeah, and that's just a hard run off the right side. That's a nice solid 5.5 or 6 yard gain. You see here's Foster, and this is what makes this Texan run game so difficult. They get a lot of weight going up towards the field, and you see Woodson trying to get the ball away, and that's a smart player in Woodson, but that makes it tough. Foster, one cut up the field, get what you can get.
3 receivers for the Texans on 2nd and 4. Give it to Foster. Trying to get out left side, find some room. 1st down, Foster. Arian Foster still going at the 10. Foster is in. Touchdown, Texans. A 41-yard run.
Wow, I'll tell you, you look at the film of Arian Foster and coming off that back injury last year that limited him to only 8 games, you wonder if he's ever going to get back to his old self. But he looked great on film last week in their game against the Redskins, and picking right up where he left off today, off that left side of the offensive line behind Dwayne Brown and Ben Jones. What a great hole that was. He hit it hard, takes it to the house.
Yeah, and he showed great patience in moving right up in behind the big guys and then waiting for a little opening to come by. And he sidestepped the traffic and then burst into the secondary. Good stiff arm to get loose, and man, that's a great play.
And you see the way he wrapped up that football right at the very end. He had that fumble last week in the red zone against the Redskins that could have been a big, big play in that ball game.
They're going to take a look at this one. All scoring plays subject to review. We're back to Oakland right after this.
After review, the runner's left knee was down with the ball at the 1/2 yard line. We will place the ball at the 1/2 yard line. The clock will start on my signal.
There's the call from Brad Allen as we welcome in our officiating expert, Mike Carey, back in New York. What'd you see there, Mike?
I think a great use of replay, piecing 2 shots together. From the goal line shot, you can see that the ball was short when the runner looked like it could be down, and then the end zone shot shows the knee clearly down with the runner's hand on the ground. Piece those 2 together, you could tell that it was short. Very nice play.
I know, officials always stick up for each other.
You're just bitter because Carey threw you out of your last game.
I'm not bitter. No. He probably did me a favor. I probably saved me a broken leg. That's the way I look at it.
All right, so it's 1st and goal for Houston from the 1. Foster. And he stopped short. C.O. Moore making another tackle for the Raiders.
That was great penetration. Very strong line play right there. You can see all the black shirts in the backfield right there. Arian Foster could not get up into that line of scrimmage before he made that cut you were talking about, Steve Tasker. And just a super job of getting penetration by that front 7 of the Raiders.
Once again, Foster, the running back. The fullback is Jay Prosh on 2nd and goal. Fitzpatrick to the air, wide open touchdown, and it's J.J. Watt. Unbelievable! Watt catches the touchdown. This guy can do it all.
Well, they bring him in as a tight end on short yardage for obvious reason. The guy is an amazing athlete. He's enormous. He's tall, and yet, you forget about how soft he is right there at the end of the line of scrimmage, and the defense completely leaves him alone. As you see there, and it's almost for sure C.O. Moore who blows the coverage, and they both take the running back out of the backfield. Forget about the tight end, who's J.J. Watt.
First career catch for J.J. Watt. One catch, one touchdown, and the Texans take a 7-0 lead. Is there anything number 99 can't do? J.J. Watt with a 1-yard touchdown catch, his first career receiving touchdown. He did have an interception return for a touchdown in the playoffs against the Bengals in 2012, but Bill O'Brien draws it up, and the Texans take a 7-0 lead. And a touchback. The Raiders will start at the 20 as we go back and take a look at that J.J. Watt touchdown.
Well, J.J. Watt, you see him walk up to the line right there on the left-hand side. Right here is C.O. Moore. He's the one that's got J.J. Watt covered on this play, but the play action, C.O. Moore steps up. There's nobody, two guys guarding Arian Foster in the flat. Nobody fell off to cover J.J. Watt. They should have known, it should have been an alert to that Raiders defense that J.J. Watt was on the field. It should have drawn more attention than it did.
First possession for the Raiders now. 1st and 10 from the 20. Darren McFadden starts at running back for the injured Maurice Jones-Drew. And McFadden gets the carry on first down, and he is thrown back. Justin Tuggle leading the charge for the Texans defense. Take a look at Derek Carr. Did not turn the ball over in that Week 1 loss against the Jets. 20 of 32, 2 touchdown passes for Carr, the rookie out of Fresno State.
And I think important to emphasize, Andrew, that he played very well last week. He did look like a rookie going against a very difficult defense by Rex Ryan and the New York Jets, but he fared very well for a first time out.
McFadden again and gets a couple of yards up the middle as we take a look at the Oakland Raiders starting lineup. On offense, Stefan Wisniewski at center, the nephew of former Raiders All-Pro Steve Wisniewski. And Maurice Jones-Drew did not practice this week, had a minor procedure on his hand, inactive today, so Darren McFadden, now in his 7th year, gets the start. There's MJD on the Raiders sideline. 3rd down and 7 for Oakland. They were just 25% on 3rd downs last week. Carr's pass is incomplete. He was looking for James Jones, and a quick 3-and-out for the Oakland Raiders offense. They had 6 3-and-outs last week in 12 drives against the Jets, and now Marquette King will come out to punt. He had 9 punts last week against the Jets.
Yeah, and that's the kind of completion you need to make early in the game. Derek Carr was a little offline with that. It looked like Jones wasn't quite in the right spot. He expected Jones to come out of the route differently or whatever. You got to complete those passes early in the game to get your confidence.
High kick by King. Johnson calls for a fair catch at the 30. A 47-yard punt for King, and the Texans going back out on offense.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Without a heart, it's just a machine. The all-new 2015 Honda Fit. The new Fit is a great fit for you. And by Verizon XLTE on America's largest, most reliable network.
Back in Oakland, the Texans trying to start 2-0 for the 5th straight year. They have an early 7-0 lead on the Raiders. Steve Burlon and Steve Tasker, I'm Andrew Catalan. And thank you for joining us for Week 2 of the NFL on CBS. 1st and 10 for the Texans. And they give it to Foster, and not much doing there. Carlos Rogers coming in to make the stop. Well, it's not too late to sign up and play NFL.com fantasy football. Get free mobile apps and exclusive instant highlights. Sign in under 2 minutes and play for free at NFL.com/fantasy.
Andrew, this is a Raiders defense that gave up over 200 yards rushing last week to the New York Jets. They've got to step up and shut down this run game of the Texans, or it's going to be a very long day for them. Arian Foster looking very good already. 6 carries, 56 yards.
Foster again on 2nd down, and he gets second level. Trying to push the pile forward. He stopped short of a first down. NFL update, JB and Coach Cowher.
Gino, hot in the early going.
Yeah, he had a 1-yard touchdown run, and this time through the air, he's going to find Eric Decker 29 yards out, and the New York Jets are jumping all over Green Bay, 14-0
In Green Bay, Andrew Catalon, Steve Tasker, and Steve Berline.
Guys, thank you. Jets had 402 yards of offense last week against this Raiders defense. 3rd and 2 for the Texans. Fitzpatrick's pass is caught by Hopkins. Juggling catch and a first down for the Texans.
That's a really confident receiver there. As you see Hopkins come across, tip that ball to himself. Great read by Fitzpatrick. He had a crossing route where the receiver outside went inside, and the inside receiver, Hopkins, came out, popped open, and tipped that ball to himself. You can tell receivers play their best when they're playing with confidence, and that play and that catch will tell you all you need to know about the confidence level of these Texans receivers.
That was not an easy catch at all.
Fitzpatrick has started 5 for 5 for 30 yards and a touchdown. Alfred Blue gets his first carry of the game, and he is thrown for a 1-yard loss.
Well, one of the things that Bill O'Brien told us yesterday in our meeting was that he was concerned. Last week, Arian Foster, 27 carries, over 100 yards, involved in the passing game. He doesn't feel like long-term over the course of the season that Arian Foster can take that kind of a beating week after week. So he wanted to incorporate Alfred Blue into the game plan today. We're seeing him pretty early in the ball game.
And he mentioned Blue early and keep Foster fresh for the 4th quarter. That was the game plan coming in. It's Blue again. Puts his head down and gets a couple. Now Alfred Blue is an interesting story. 6th-round pick at LSU this year. That was the pick that the Raiders sent to Houston for Matt Schaub, who's now the backup quarterback with Oakland.
He had that, the block punt was a game breaker in a game that was pretty tight up until that time, but there's no question they don't want Arian Foster to fade away late in the season, so they're going to make sure they can rest him at spots during the regular season to make sure that doesn't happen, and they'll have him fresh if this season gets to the point where they're making a playoff push.
Foster back in the game on 3rd and 8. Fitzpatrick with time over the middle, and it's caught by his tight end, Garrett Graham. Another first down for Houston. Graham was inactive last week with a sore back, and there's his first catch of the season.
Well, one of the things you're going to right here on the right side up the middle, one of the things you're going to see is that linebacker, C.O. Moore, was in very good position, but a quarterback is taught at this level that if you can see the back of a guy's jersey, he is not covering that receiver. Throw that ball, let the receiver go up and make a catch. That's a great example right there of how to do it.
26-yard pickup for the tight end, Garrett Graham on first down. It's Foster again running left and across the 25-yard line to the 24.
That's a good point by you, Steve. If the guy can't see the ball, he can't defend the ball, and the quarterback at 10, Derek Carr is learning that as well. A quarterback has to know that at this level, there are certain throws you have to make, whereas in the college level, you'd never think about doing it, and that was one of them. And what a great catch by Graham.
Already 125 yards of offense for Houston in this first quarter. Foster again. And we go back to New York again. Another update with JB and Coach Cowher.
An ex-basketball player in the mix here.
Yeah, how many times have we seen this? Phillip Rivers to Antonio Gates, puts the move on back of the end zone, 8 yards out, and San Diego back up on top, 10-7.
Tony Gonzalez says, I've seen those moves before. Andrew, Steve, and Steve.
All right, guys, another big 3rd down coming up here for the Houston Texans. They're 3 for 3 on 3rd downs in this opening quarter. It's a 3rd and 6 for Ryan Fitzpatrick. 5 on the play clock.
Looks like the Raiders coming with pressure off this left side.
And a timeout is called for by Houston with the play clock winding down. First timeout of this half for either team, and we're right back to Oakland in a moment.
Watch Bill O'Brien right here. He does not like what he's sensing on the field. There's confusion. He does not like the look the Raiders have come up there, and he says, you know what? This is an important play. I'm going to take a timeout. He goes, run up the referee and say, wait a minute, I don't like it. I want to get the right play called. Very Very good use of timeout right there by Bill O'Brien.
3rd down and 6. Fitzpatrick out of the gun, fires, and the pass is caught for another 1st down. Andre Johnson reels in another.
Listen, if you're going to play man-to-man on Andre Johnson, you better play 2 defenders on 1 guy. You got to double team that guy. You run a slant to Andre Johnson, who's a big receiver, and you've got an accurate throw by Fitzpatrick, and that's almost indefensible. You can't stop that throw. Johnson's ball skills are too great, his body is too big, and the throw is too accurate.
And he's pretty much established himself over the years as a pretty strong receiver. Very difficult to cover him on those short routes. He's so strong.
Fitzpatrick right back to Johnson, his 3rd catch of this quarter, and he gets inside the 10-yard line. Guys, last week, the Texans only had 2 drives that went longer than 3 minutes and 3 seconds. Both of their drives in the 1st quarter have now gone on for more than 5 minutes.
Well, that's what they're converting on 3rd down. You saw them take the timeout to do it. They were 3 of 3 in the quarter. Now they're 4 of 4. If you're going to convert 3rd downs, you're going to win the game. You can't. Your offense stays on the field. Their defense gets more tired and more wore out as the game rolls on. If they continue to do the 3rd down conversions like they have, this game's already over.
2nd down and 4. Foster on the draw. There's a flag down on the play.
It looked like an interior defensive lineman for the Raiders. Not sure who it was initially, but just anticipated the snap count a little bit.
Offside. Defense number 94. Half the distance to the goal. Remains 2nd down.
That's the former Texan, Antonio Smith.
Yeah, that's what happened. You get a chance to play against your old team. You start to think you can jump the snap, although Antonio Smith was never on the team with Fitzpatrick. And there's Jason Tarver, the defensive coordinator for the Raiders. To say Tarver is intense is an understatement.
I think he's a little bit frustrated right now.
Yeah.
Kind of on his heels trying to figure out what the Texans are doing.
2nd and half a yard. They can get a 1st down without scoring a touchdown. Fitzpatrick, plenty of time. Now fires end zone. Broken up and incomplete. Chimdi Chekwa got a hand on that one, and it's 3rd down.
You know, coming into that throw, Ryan Fitzpatrick was 8 for 8 on the game, but that right there was a very dangerous, shaky decision. He had his mind made up. He wanted to go to Andre Johnson. Andre Johnson is a great receiver, but he ain't going to make that catch. That was great coverage by the Raiders. Ryan Fitzpatrick needs to be more careful with the football down here deep in the red zone.
Well, yes, he's been on 5 teams in 10 years. That's one of the reasons. He'll make a throw like that in the wrong spot.
Playing great, and then all of a sudden, where did that come from?
Garrett Graham in at tight end, not J.J. Watt here on 3rd and 1. Foster has the 1st down, still moving his legs. No signal yet, and he is down at the 1. So it's 1st and goal for the Texans.
There were a lot of Texans signaling there, Andrew. There were some signals, just not the right ones. And Arian Foster, that effort to try and get that ball to the goal line. He's a big, strong man too. You don't realize how big these guys are until you look them in the eye.
Well, you look them in the eye.
Early. Yeah,
I'm looking at their
you're
chin.
Looking up at them.
And Foster does such a great job. We've seen it a couple of times where he hesitates when he gets the football and lets the play develop right in front of him. He doesn't have any sense of urgency, but he's got a great sense of poise to find the open area.
13th play of the drive, and now the 2nd timeout, but a flag is down in the end zone.
Delay a game.
And I don't think Fitzpatrick got that timeout in time.
Delay game. Offense number 14. 5-yard penalty. 1st down.
You can't take those.
Well, all of us up here have had many chances to watch and get to know Ryan Fitzpatrick. Obviously, think very highly of him as a quarterback, as a person, but right there, a veteran of his experience level has got to be more aware. That cannot happen. When you're on the 1-foot line, it's a totally different situation to get moved out to the 6-yard line.
First Houston penalty today. And now it's Arian Foster again, up the middle and in, touchdown. Arian Foster with a big 1st quarter. And it's 13-0 Houston.
So much for the pressure of a penalty they just took. They made that look easy, and the Raiders right now have got to be taking a deep breath. That was an impressive drive.
Just a draw play, pulling the guard around.
Yeah, he just followed Ben Jones right around the corner, cut inside the block, and that could not have been easier for a 6-yard touchdown run.
First touchdown of the season for Foster, who grew up as a Raiders fan. He grew up in New Mexico, went to high school near San Diego, but his parents were big Raiders fans, and he loved rooting for the Raiders as a kid. Couldn't get enough of the black hole. Ironically, his first touchdown this season is in the end zone right next to the black hole here in Oakland. Extra point by Randy Bullock is good. And it is quiet here in Oakland. Arian Foster caps off that long drive, and it's 14-0 Texans.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the new Samsung Galaxy S5. The next big thing is here. And by Bose, official sound of the NFL.
Back in Oakland, where the Texans have jumped out to a 14-0 lead on the Raiders, as we take a look at some of the early headlines from the 1 o'clock Eastern time games and injuries, where the story, RG3 dislocated ankle, no timetable on his return. AJ Green with an injury, Noshawn Moreno was injured. And how about the Browns beating the Saints? First career win for Mike Pettin.
Absolutely, that's huge in Cleveland. It's interesting enough, RG3 goes out of the game and the Redskins scored over 30 points. There's going to be a debate now in the Capitol.
But that's devastating for RG3. I don't have any idea what the timetable is for an injury like that, but that is not good. And you're right, Steve. They'll be talking a lot about it, talk radio tomorrow.
Latavius Murray out of his own end zone gets to the 15 and tackled at the 17-yard line, and that takes us to the end of the first quarter. You're watching the NFL on CBS. This Thursday, your football week starts right here when the Tampa Bay Bucks tangle with the Atlanta Falcons. Big-time matchups go prime time. It's Thursday Night Football on NFL Network and CBS. This Thursday, Tampa and Atlanta. Falcons lost earlier today against the Bengals. It'll be a matchup at quarterback between McCown and Ryan. And what a great start for the Thursday Night Football package here on CBS with that game between the Ravens and Steelers last Thursday. Great start for the Texans today, as they have run 23 plays already in 151 yards to just 3 plays for the Raiders, who have the ball back here to start the second quarter. Carr, pump fakes. Now looking down the sideline for Streeter, and it's incomplete. Coverage by Kareem Jackson.
That was the first meeting between Derek Carr and J.J. Watt there in the backfield, men. You're going to see J.J. Watt coming through up the middle, number 99. Actually, I'm sorry, it came from the other side. I thought it was J.J. Watt. That was D.J. Swearinger bringing the blitz off the edge. The New York Jets last week had a lot of success against the Raiders, coming with the safeties. They're going to keep it coming until Derek Carr shows he can handle it.
Carr keeps it himself, has some room to run. First down and more for the rookie. Carr across midfield and knocked out by Swearinger. Dennis Allen told us he wanted to get Derek Carr on the move a little bit more today, and he goes for 41 yards.
That's more than what Dennis Allen was talking to us about. He had talked to Carr about just making sure he kept plays alive and maybe squeeze out a first down with his legs. That, however, was something much, much more. What a great play.
Well, the Raiders last week had 25 total yards rushing. Right there, one run, Derek Carr blows right past that. That gets the crowd going here a little bit. Maybe to get a spark the Raiders need.
McFadden finds a hole, gets across the 40, picks up 4 yards on the play. Justin Tuggle makes the stop.
You know what that was? That was the classic read option there. Great read. The Houston Texans had not seen that out of Derek Carr, and it was a good time for that play. The Raiders needed a big play. I think you give Greg Olson, the offensive coordinator, credit for saying, we got to do something a little unconventional here. Derek Carr showed he can handle it.
For nothing else, they got to give their defense a blow. They've been on the field so much already in this game. Carr, quick pass, caught by Andre Holmes, and he has a first down. First catch of the season for the third-year wideout.
Yeah, one of the things you see in the early going, Carr looks comfortable. You see so many times when a young quarterback gets in the pocket and they're just not sure about where to throw to. They're a little hesitant. Carr looks really confident, and that's one of the things the entire coaching staff and the whole organization said about this guy, this young quarterback. From the word go, he was not just a pleasant surprise, he was impressive.
180! Watch it!
Three-step drop. Carr fires over the middle, picked off. Intercepted by Kareem Jackson, and he's got some room to run. Jackson down the sideline, one man to beat, and McFadden is able to stop him and save a touchdown. But Kareem Jackson with a 65-yard return.
Well, the Texans again came with DJ Swearinger off the edge, and I think the pressure they did not get a hit on Derek Carr that time, but it made him throw a ball. He was uncertain what to do with it. Threw it into a safety, or actually was Kareem Jackson stepped in front of it. Poorly thrown ball. Derek Carr, I think, thought he had an open post, middle of the field. Did not happen right there, and Houston more than willing to take advantage of it. That was J.J. Watt, I believe, coming in there, making the hit on this play.
8th career interception for Kareem Jackson. First interception thrown by Derek Carr in his NFL career. And now the Texans with golden field position. Fitzpatrick steps up, fires to Andre Johnson. Johnson has a first down to the 10. A 14-yard pickup. Shimdi Chekwa made the tackle.
And this is Ryan Fitzpatrick when teams get so enamored with him. You see him step up in the pocket, bring his eyes all the way from down the field, and then late comes back to the underneath receiver, Andre Johnson. And that's a good feeling for a quarterback to see that guy coming across the field. And that was an easy throw, easy completion, but it was made possible by his poise in the pocket.
Grimes on 1st and goal. And he maybe gets a yard out of that. Jonathan Grimes with just his 2nd carry of the season.
Well, that was the first interception of Derek Carr's career there, and the pressure falls squarely. You look at the ball control stat right there. Look at the difference. Only 8 plays for the Raiders, but the defense really has got to answer the bell this time. They've been on the field a lot, no doubt about it, but they've got to dig deep and find a way to hold Houston to a field goal here in order to give their team a chance to stay in the ballgame.
Grimes at running back again. He takes the carry. Stacked up at the line, gets away, now thrown back, but a penalty comes in. That was C.O. Moore on the tackle. But we'll have to see what the penalty flag is.
This is going to be a hold, as you can tell, against Houston.
Holding. Offense, number 84. 10-yard penalty. 2nd down.
That's on the 2nd-year tight end, Ryan Griffin, out of UConn.
Right here, at the bottom of the screen. You can see that Khalil Mack pushing him back, and he can't get away. When you see those numbers stretched out of proportion, it's easy for the official to see as well. That's an easy call.
And that's hard on Griffin, though. He's expecting the play to come up inside, and he doesn't realize the ball's bouncing out, but still can't do it.
Alfred Blue on 2nd and goal. They go to the ground, and that'll bring up 3rd and goal from the 15-yard line. Texans continue to rotate running backs with Foster, Blue, and Grimes already getting carries in this first half. Now, the Texans are 5 for 5 on 3rd downs, but they've got 3rd and goal from the 15, and this Raider defense trying to spur on the crowd here in Oakland.
Andre Johnson right here in the slot.
Fitzpatrick with time, passes deflected and incomplete. Khalil Mack got a hand on that one, the rookie out of Buffalo, and wow, the Raiders desperately needed that on defense to force Houston to attempt a field goal.
Well, Khalil Mack coming off the edge, He is really a good pass rusher off the end. That is what attracted all the scouts to him. He was a 5th pick in the draft this past May, and he's showing the potential the Raider coaches want to see. They want to see him flying around on the football field. Right there, realized he couldn't get to Fitzpatrick, put his hands up, made a big play for the defense.
33-yard attempt for Randy Bullock, who's made 13 in a row, and now he can make it 14 in a row. So off the card turnover, the Texans tack on 3 more. Tonight on Big Brother, the jurors pay a visit to the house and face the final 5 players. A new Big Brother tonight after 60 minutes, only CBS. Derek Carr's first career interception turns into 3 points, a field goal by Bullock, and now it's 17-0 Houston. That one goes through a touchback. Carr coming back out, trying to put the Raiders on the scoreboard here in Oakland. You can follow up today's football action. Just download the CBS Sports app right now for lightning fast scores, breaking news, video, and more. It's all on your phone. 1st and 10 for the Raiders. And it's McFadden up the middle, and Brian Cushing is there for the tackle. Cushing, of course, coming off the leg injury last year, was forced out in week 7. He's on a bit of a pitch count to start this year in the sense that he only played 65% of the snaps last week, but he comes up to make a big tackle there.
Well, Brian Cushing's only played 12 games the last 2 years because of those 2 major left leg injuries.
McFadden on the Wildcat. There's a flag down on the play as he gets up to the 28-yard line. McFadden also ran that once last week and handed off. This time he kept it. And here's the call.
Offside. Defense, number 24. 5-yard penalty. 2nd down.
It's on Jonathan Joseph, the 9th-year corner.
Yeah, with McFadden in the backfield of that Wildcat and with Murray coming around, Latavius Murray, those 2 guys are, they're both over 6 feet. Murray is 225, and they can both run 4.3 40. So that stretches the defense pretty thin in the run game, trying to corral both those 2 big, fast guys. You better have some guys attacking line of scrimmage if they go back to that personnel set again.
Well, the officials are huddling up. They've got the ball spotted at the 28-yard line. Should be 2nd and 1, and now we're set to go.
And now they've only got 10 seconds or 11 seconds on the play clock. Now they reset it. Yeah, okay.
Rivera goes in motion. Play action. Carr running left. Finds Rivera. He's got the first tackle. And tackled at the 34-yard line. Kendrick Lewis on the stop for the Texans defense.
Well, Mike Rivera came back to the Raiders this year after his rookie season a year ago, where he had 38 catches and 407 yards. And during training camp, Greg Olson, the offensive coordinator, was impressed with how much progress Rivera had made. He was bigger, he was faster, more athletic, and they're starting to use him more and more. He really evolved as his rookie season progressed last year.
Yeah, Olsen said he's one of the most improved players on the roster from last year. On 1st down, Carr underneath to Moore at the 40. Denarius Moore is tackled by Jared Crick, and that's going to be good for another Oakland 1st down.
A good job by Derek Carr here on this play. Pocket presence, not getting too flustered. I think the play did not open up quickly as he would have liked to, but he stands in that pocket strong. Good job by his O-line. And then he finds Moore coming across late for a nice little pickup.
McFadden can't get to the outside. He is spun down, and it's Brian Cushing again, the 6-year player out of USC.
And you talk about Cushing and what he has meant to this club, and we talked about how many games he had been out. What kind of difference can a linebacker like Cushing make? It's amazing. It's tangible. The guy, when you got a great player, and Romeo Crennel knows when you got a great player who can make a difference, you got to get him on the field. And Cushing, even though he's on the pitch count, is still making a difference.
Already 3 tackles for Cushing. And 2nd down and 10 with 7:50 to go in the first half. James Jones trying to get him some space. And a nice tackle by Jonathan Joseph.
Well, you're talking about those numbers, Steve. Here's a perfect example of it. You look at what it was like with him on the field, what it's been like without him, and he's only played 29 of 48 games since 2011, but there is a huge difference in the quality of the defensive play across the board when he's on the field.
Bill O'Brien told us yesterday, Cushing a heart and soul kind of guy, and they've got a few of those guys on this Texans defense. 3rd down and 7 for Carr. Throwing deep, and the pass is dropped. The intended target was Rod Streeter. One of the Texans defensive backs may have gotten a hand on that one.
And that's a play you just got to make.
10-yard penalty.
There's also a holding call going against the Raiders, and that'll bring out the punter Marquette King.
Yeah, it was well defended by Kareem Jackson, but you know, Streeter would tell you himself, I think he's got to come down with that football.
Well, there are several plays during the course of a game where if you make the play, it makes a difference in the ball game. Everybody knows that, but that's one of those plays right there. That was a perfectly thrown ball into good coverage by Derek Carr, but that catch should have been made. You're 100% right.
And it's made moot by the holding penalty. It would have come back anyway, but nevertheless, you know, that's what we're talking about. Streeter's got to be that guy for a rookie quarterback.
2nd punt by King. It's a short one. Johnson had trouble making the catch. Ball loose. But the Texans will have it with 6:55 to go in the 2nd quarter. Houston football after the short punt. Just a 33-yarder by Marquette King. All Houston so far in this one. They lead it 17-0.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you've got to get DirecTV. State Farm. Pump up your savings with a discount double check today. And by Domino's. Visit Domino's.com.
Back in Oakland, week 2 of the NFL on CBS. Houston with a 17-0 lead on the Raiders. 1st and 10 for the Texans. Arian Foster on the carry, and he gets a yard on the play. Ryan Fitzpatrick now in his 10th year, his 5th different team, but he told us yesterday that he thinks this is one of his best shots to win. He loves the makeup of this offense under Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, and he said one of the things that surprised him, he think coming into a 2-14 team, they might have some big problems, but he said they don't. I mean, it's a great locker room, great veteran leadership, great talent, and they seem together. It's surprising to look at their record last year, how it turned out. He's very impressed with this squad.
A pass is dropped by Damaris Johnson, and it'll bring up 3rd down. You mentioned the leadership, Steve Tasker. Actually, O'Brien has formed a leadership council with about 16, 17 guys on his team. They meet every Friday morning, and he just wants to hear their thoughts. And one of the reasons he does that is because Jeff Fisher told him that if you don't know what's going inside your locker room, if you don't know what's going on, you're going to have issues. So he wants to be close in that locker room, and it seemed to have helped the Texans early on throughout training camp and here now in the regular season. They're faced with a 3rd and 9. 6:19 to go, 2nd quarter. 2 on the play clock. They're going to run it to Foster, and he has some room trying to get to the outside. He does. 1st down for Arian Foster, and out of bounds at the 42-yard line.
This is an example of the leadership and the experience that Ryan Fitzpatrick brings to this ball club. This was an audible. He saw the look. He saw the confusion the Raiders had there. It was the 3rd and long situation, but he had the confidence to go up there and say, you know what, if we catch this, if we block it right, we can pick up this 1st down. He changed the play. Good execution across the board. Arian Foster picks up a big 1st down.
He's already closing in on a 100-yard rushing day. Foster has 14 carries for 93 yards.
Yeah, that's one of those rare instances where Arian Foster gets the 1st down and the yardage on his numbers, but that play was made by Ryan Fitzpatrick before the snap. That's a great example of it, and it's great execution by that offensive line, and everybody involved. And that's not getting it done. I mean, and that's as much Oakland's defense as it is their offense.
Exactly right.
Foster getting a breather on the sideline. Again, 29 touches last week and already 14 carries here today. 2nd and 8 for Houston. Play action. Fitzpatrick fires to Andre Johnson, and he's got another catch. That's his 5th grab of the day, and another Houston first down, a 15-yard gain.
This guy is just so good. There really is no way to expect a corner to be able to cover Andre Johnson one-on-one all over the football field right there. Perfect play called. An excellent throw by Ryan Fitzpatrick, but that's asking an awful lot of anybody trying to stop Andre Johnson.
Foster on the carry with 4.5 to go in the first.
And you think about it, Steve, not just as Andre Johnson, but it's Andre Johnson in today's NFL. No holding, no checking down the field, no big hits up high on a receiver. I mean, it's more and more difficult for defenders to intimidate and make receivers shy away from inside footballs. And for a guy like Andre Johnson, who grew up in a different NFL, this NFL's got to be like a breath of fresh air for him. He wants to go in there and grab those footballs. He knows he's safe.
So you're saying he's bigger and stronger and they can't touch him.
That's right.
Another carry for Foster. Flag on the play. He's tackled close to the 35-yard line.
Yeah, this is going to be a hold on Griffin as a late flag.
84.
There's another flag.
Yeah, another one has just come in.
This was after the play.
First year as an NFL referee for Brad Allen.
There are fouls against both teams. Holding, offense, number 55. Unsportsmanlike conduct, taunting, number 55, defense. Those fouls offset. Repeat, 2nd down.
That's a bad penalty on C.O. Moore.
Yeah, I think he meant holding on number 84, Ryan Griffin, the tight end, is who the penalty was thrown on, but then C.O. Moore lost his composure there, and that's the kind of thing that really has completely buried the Raiders in the past. Known for really dumb penalties over the years. Dennis Allen, Reggie McKenzie, the general manager, trying to really address those issues. The Raiders have gotten so much better, but right there, just a dumb play by C.O. Moore.
Fitzpatrick on 2nd and 9, throws off his back foot, but still completes the pass. There's another flag down as DeAndre Hopkins brings that one in for 15 yards, but we await the latest call.
Holding, offense, number 84. 10-yard penalty, 2nd down.
And that's the 2nd play in a row for
Ryan
Griffin.
6th-round pick last year out of UConn.
Yeah, you can't, and that's 2 in a row. Bill O'Brien keeping it right here. And well, he just catches the penetration by Pat Sims.
That's a big man. That's a big man to try and block. He's got him outweighed by about 70 pounds, but he still can't get the hand up underneath that face mask.
So Houston backed up into its own territory. 2nd and 19, a screen to Foster. Foster at midfield, tripped up from behind and tackled at the 48-yard line. That'll bring up 3rd and long for the Texans.
Yeah, C.O. Moore made that tackle and tripped Foster up, and now Moore stays down on the ground. He came up and recovered on that screen pass and got just enough of Arian Foster to trip him up, but something happened that's not allowing him to continue.
Week 2 of the NFL season continues tonight with Sunday Night Football just down the road as the Bears visit the 49ers. That's at 8:30 Eastern, and tune in tomorrow for Monday Night Football on ESPN, the Eagles and the Colts. C.O. Moore was able to walk off under his own power. He's made 6 tackles already, but he'll sit out this 3rd and 16 for the Texans. They're 6 for 7 on 3rd down so far in this game. There's 2:54 to go in the first half. Steve Berlon and Steve Tasker. I'm Andrew Catalon, our entire NFL on CBS crew. Arian Foster will go next to Fitzpatrick. Now behind him. 3rd and 16 for Houston. Fitzpatrick fires incomplete. He's looking for DeAndre Hopkins along the sideline, and now that'll bring out Shane Leckler, who spent the first 13 years of his career with the Oakland Raiders, and now his first punt back here in Oakland.
Yeah, that guy he's not just another guy. He's the all-time leader in career gross punt average at almost 48 yards. He has 3 of the top 8 individual seasons for a punter in NFL history.
What J.J. Watt said, that he's the only punter he's ever gotten off the bench to watch in action.
Carey with the fair catch at the 11. Raiders still scoreless. Offense coming back out.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the agile all-new Audi Q3. Stray the course. And by Kelley Blue Book. Find out what you should pay for your next new car at kbb.com.
Picture perfect day in the Bay Area, but not going well so far for the Oakland Raiders. They trail 17-0 with 2:27 to go in the first half. Batted up the middle. He gets close to the 20-yard line. Raiders have all 3 timeouts. Carr trying to get him lined up quickly so he can run a play before the 2-minute warning. Carr fires left, and it's caught by James Jones. He's got a first down, forced out by DJ Swearinger, and we've hit the 2-minute warning. Raiders trying to get on the scoreboard. 1:57 to go, second quarter, and the Texans lead at 17-0. First and 10 for the Raiders. Carr to James Jones again, and he runs right at A.J. Boye, but another first down for the Raiders. Well, coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, and Coach Cowher for all the latest NFL scores and highlights, along with a special preview of Thursday Night Football on CBS and the NFL Network. That's coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. All 3 timeouts for the Raiders. Carr has some time over the middle, caught by Streeter, and he's tackled by Mike Muhammad. Pickup of 6 on the play.
And this is as effective as the Raiders have looked, going to this no-huddle play. Derek Carr doing a nice job getting them lined up, getting them in the right play, and getting rid of the football, and that's key in this situation. Just get the ball out of his hand.
Carr, pump fakes, now throwing deep for Jones along the sideline, comes back to make the catch. Ball comes out, Jones picks it up. At the 20, he loses it again. Ball is loose. And the Texans fall on it for a touchback.
They're going to say
down at the 1. What a wild play here in Oakland.
Jones had 2 fumbles on the same play.
1 catch, 2 fumbles.
He's absolutely disgusted with himself.
Well, he should be. It's a great catch on a back shoulder throw that was great by Carr. He recovers intelligently and picks the ball up.
First down.
Wow. Yeah, when it rains, it pours. You know, the only hope for the Raiders is maybe Jones got to the sideline before that ball came out on the first. I don't think he did, but the question, where are his feet right there? Did his feet hit that? I think the ball was out before he got to that white line. And it will be reviewed as all turnovers are, but that second time, I mean, you cannot possibly justify what the heck happened here on the second one. I mean, the ball's out before he hits the sideline. He gets the ball back. The only thing he should be thinking about now is, hey, come on, hang on to the ball. He sees the man coming and still gives up the football. That's just inexcusable.
Well, they take a look at all turnovers, so this one is under review. What a play by Jonathan Joseph to chase down Jones, force that second fumble, and then Swearinger recovered.
Well, he forced both fumbles, I think. There he is, right there. I mean, he had his arm in there popping that first one.
It was Kendrick Lewis popped that one out.
Let's bring in Mike Carey back in New York.
There's a lot to process on this. 2 feet down inbounds, catch, fumble, runs. After he reestablishes, fumbles again. Houston recovers at the 1.
Is there anything extra on that, Mike, that they could review other than the fact that he might have been out of bounds? Was there? I mean, there's
a lot to review here.
Right.
So was this a catch and a fumble? It was a catch and a fumble. Everybody was inbounds here. He gets 2 feet down inbounds, so he is reestablished so he can pick the ball up, but then he fumbles again. Then you have a down by contact issue when Houston recovers the ball at the 1. A lot going on that play.
Yeah, and what does the coach have to ask you? Does he have to specifically say, hey, I want to review this? Can the official review all of that stuff that you said, or does he have to be specific in what he's reviewing?
Yeah, great point, Andrew. All he has to do is choose one reviewable aspect, and the referee will review every reviewable aspect on the play.
But a turnover is reviewed anyway, and they review it from every aspect as well. Is that not right?
Absolutely, yeah. So this was a challenge. This could only be reviewed by the replay official.
Perfect.
Good stuff. Mike Carey, our officiating expert, back in New York. And another timeout called for by the Raiders as they're going to try to get this ball back after the turnover by James Jones. Second turnover of the half by Oakland.
Well, you know, the Raiders come into this game, and the sense we got coming into this game was that they really felt confident with this matchup, but they also felt that they had to win this game. And I got the buzz walking around the stadium a little bit earlier from administration, people inside the organization with the Raiders, that they all felt this was a game the Raiders had to have. They came out on their heels a little bit. The Texans came out, took advantage, get up on that lead, and there just really has not been a lot for the Raiders to get excited about.
3rd down and 9 for Houston. Oakland does have 1 timeout remaining. 44 seconds to go, first half. Keep it on the ground here. Force Oakland to call that final timeout. Dennis Allen does just that. So Shane Leckler will have to punt it away from his own end zone. No timeouts remaining now for Oakland. Keep in mind, Oakland will get the ball to start the second half. And Janikowski, as we know, has a big leg. So still a chance for the Raiders to put some points on the board here before the half.
No doubt about it, Andrew. This is they're going to get the ball, unless something else crazy happens here. They're going to get the ball somewhere around midfield or better, most likely, depending on how Leckler hits his punt. But there's still going to be about 30 seconds left, enough time for 2 or 3 plays at least. Try and get in a field goal range. We'll see what happens.
And the line to gain is only about the Houston 40-yard line, maybe even the 42-yard line. They'll try a punt from 60, even 65 with Janikowski.
A field goal.
A field goal, yeah, I'm sorry, a field goal.
Leckler's punt bounces at the 50 and takes a big Houston hop. Carey goes back to the 30 to pick it up. What a big break there for the Texans, and Shane Leckler, he gets that home field advantage.
That
right?
was an enormously bad decision by T.J. Carey. You've got to field the punt. If you don't field the punt, it's going to bounce down, and that's another bad mistake by the Raiders. They fumble it away to take themselves out of scoring position, and then Carey lets that ball bounce. You see, you average about 16 yards of bounce when you let those punts hit. That's the study we did back in the day, and that was a huge bounce and a huge mistake.
And the football is not round, so you don't know how it's going to bounce, but he should have been in better position to field that off the bounce to eliminate it, bounce that extra 20 yards.
A 64-yard punt for Shane Leckler's longest of the season. Carr, flag on the play, back to James Jones, holds on to the football this time. He'll have a first down if it stands. There is a penalty back at the line of scrimmage. 20 seconds to go, second quarter.
Derek Carr is going against Houston.
Derek Carr just picked up the flag and gave it to the ref.
Yeah, he's trying to hurry everybody up.
Illegal use of the hands by hands to the face. Number 96, defense. That penalty is declined. First down.
Tim Jamison, the guilty party there. So the ball out to the 45-yard line. Again, the Raiders do not have a timeout. Carr is going to keep it at the 50, trying to get out of bounds, and he does. with 12 seconds to go in the second quarter. Coming up on the Horizon Halftime Report, JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, and Coach Cower have all the latest NFL scores and highlights, along with a special preview of Thursday Night Football on CBS and NFL Network. That's coming up on Verizon at the half. Janikowski warming up. His career long is 63 yards.
Now, from a clock management standpoint, there's 12 seconds left. That is right on the borderline of whether you can use the middle of the field or not. If he throws the ball and then we do not get out of bounds here for the Raiders, they've got to get on that ball quick.
Carr flushed out, dumps it down to McFadden, tries to get out of bounds. He does not. Clock continues to tick. Raiders can't stop the clock, and that is how the first half ends. And they are booing here in Oakland.
Well, we were going to see Sebastian Janikowski going after a 60-plus yard field goal if McFadden could have gotten out of bounds.
But you saw there his elbow with the ball in his arm hit the ground inside, and that puts him in bounds and keeps the clock running.
Started the third quarter in Oakland, and the Texans have a 17-0 lead on the Raiders. Time now for the DirecTV Ultimate Picture Cam. Ryan Fitzpatrick finding J.J. Watt for his first career receiving touchdown. Back in the booth with Steve Berlon and Steve Tasker, I'm Andrew Catalon. A fitting end to that first half for Oakland. Nothing went right for them, and credit to the Texans with that 17-point lead. Guys, what adjustments do these teams have to make in the second half?
Well, for Houston, they've already done a good job defensively stopping the run. Now they're going to have to pressure Derek Carr. And remember, if the Raiders don't score, they don't win.
And for the Raiders, you come out for the second half and you say, listen, let's take the ball down the field. Let's get it and go down the field. We don't have to panic. We don't have to start throwing the ball every down. Get the run game going, and let's see if we can get one possession into the end zone, make a ball game out of it.
2 turnovers in the first half by Oakland, an interception by Carr, and the James Jones fumbles. Look at the first half numbers and time of possession heavily in favor of the Texans, and that meant the Raiders' defense was on the field for a lot of that first half. They will start this second half on the bench as the Texans will kick it away, and we're underway in the second half. Bullock's kick is a low liner, and Murray picks it up. He'll run it out. Murray at the 20, and he is tackled by Jeff Tarpinian. And that's where Derek Carr and the Raiders offense will come back out after a 24-yard return. In that first half, Carr, 10 out of 14 for 113 yards, but he did have his first career interception.
And those numbers, it can be misleading. A lot of those yards came on the last couple series of the first half where they had the big completion and then the double fumble by James Jones that gave the ball back to the Texans. But there was really no continuity out of this Raiders offense the first half at all. They've got to start showing some life here.
Marcel Reese lined up in the slot on 1st and 10. Now Reese goes in motion. Carr play action on first down. Fires to Jones, and it's broken up by Kareem Jackson. That was a dangerous pass by Derek Carr.
It was a dangerous pass. It was behind him a little bit. It was one-on-one coverage, but great coverage by Kareem Jackson. You know, the one thing that I've been impressed with, though, about this Raiders offense, when I really think about it, we have not said J.J. Watt's name much on the defensive side of things right now. They are controlling him. They're giving Derek Carr time to throw the ball and scan the field, making sure that he's not being rushed into bad passes. So you have to give him credit for that up front. You just got to start making plays if you're pulling for the Raiders offense.
McFadden on second down, trying to get to the outside. He cannot. Tackled by Whitney Merciless, who's playing for the injured Jadeveon Clowney.
You watch on this one. Watch as J.J. Watt's going to go right up the field, and they'll run this football right after him. It's a nice job by Penn, the left tackle, pushing him right up the field past the play, and that's one way to take care of him. You can let a guy's momentum take him out of the play. Maybe you don't have to double team him.
Watt has more touchdowns than tackles today. One touchdown, no tackles.
Wow, good stat.
Got you very excited, Steve Tasker. I'm very happy for
That's a great point. I mean, it's amazing because we kind of missed it when he got on the field in the first half for that touchdown. And it's just one more aspect. They use this guy and lean on him a lot. They've got They've got great players, and what right here they're going to put 2 guys on him. They got the guard, and then McFadden comes in and gives a chicken wing to him, and he's still the guy that pulls the quarterback to the ground.
And that's the best pressure J.J. Watt's had on Derek Carr today. Darren McFadden did tell us, though, that he is going to be looking for number 99 to help out his offensive lineman all day. Right there, a great example.
Wow, just leveled a big blow. Darren McFadden, 6'1", 218. And he laid out Daryl Morris. Hello.
Wow. Yeah, and if you're wondering at home, yeah, that does hurt. Oh.
That's 7 yards on the play.
And that is exactly what the Raiders need more of. Get Darren McFadden established running right at this Texans defense. Keep your quarterback in very desirable offensive situations.
Fadden again, trying to push the pile forward. He's got a first down and more. Finally dragged down by Cushing and Tuggle, but a first down into Houston territory for McFadden and the Raiders.
Well, McFadden does a nice job. He runs right up the back of his center. Stefan Wisniewski, watch the center snap this, and he's gonna, and McFadden's gonna find him and run right towards him, and ends up running right up his back.
Well, it looks to me like McFadden is running a little bit angry right now, almost like he's had enough and said, you know what, I'm gonna establish this running game no matter what it takes. We're gonna slam this thing up in there.
Carr, screen to Reese. Gets away from one tackle, and Marcel Reese with another Oakland first down. Daryl Morris made the stop, but an impressive start to this half by the Raiders.
Look at the block by Darren McFadden on this one, right here on the end, too, right there. That is the key block on that play, getting the hands down of Brooks Reed in order for Derek Carr to have that nice lane. You'll see it again right here. He cuts the outside linebacker, gets him down out of the passing lane for Derek Carr to have a nice, easy throw.
Balanced drive so far, 3 rushes, 3 passes for the Raiders, 1st and 10. Back to the air here. Carr looking for the home run ball to Jones, and it's incomplete.
You know, Steve, you just made a good point about McFadden running angry. And the Raiders have been looking for a guy, and people call it a bell cow, a veteran leader, somebody to be a truly great player for this organization. They haven't had it since our colleague Rich Gannon was here in '02 and they went to the Super Bowl. They're looking for somebody. Now, some people think Darren McFadden could be the guy. I think in the next year or two, it's going to be the guy taking snaps number 4. I think it's going to be Derek Carr that takes over this team. Somebody has got to be a great player for this franchise every week.
Nothing doing this time for McFadden running left as Kendrick Lewis came up to make the tackle. McFadden on a 1-year, $1.65 million deal. You said running angry. He's got a lot to prove this year. They already brought in Maurice Jones-Drew. They like Latavius Murray. And for Darren McFadden, we had a chance to sit with him on Friday after practice here in Oakland, and he said that his personal goal was just to stay healthy. He has been hurt so much in his career, hoping to be able to play 16 games this season for Oakland.
Well, out of his 6 previous years, he's only played 13 games twice, so he's never made it through a full season. He knows the rap on himself, but he also knows this is a very pivotal year. He's getting up in years in the league, and he's got to show he's still got it.
Big play here, 3rd and 13. Pass is caught by Rivera, lost the football, scooped up by the Texans. Jonathan Joseph down the sideline. Joseph cuts it back at the 30. Joseph is finally brought down at the 21. 3rd turnover of the day by the Raiders, a 50-yard return.
Man, there's really nothing to say about this. I mean, guys, we're sitting here looking at it every time this Raiders offense shows any signs of life. These are not big hits in a crowd. This is a receiver not putting the ball away and protecting the football. He caught that ball on the left sideline. That ball should have been in his left arm as he's turning up the sideline. He instead, look at the fundamental. He tucks it away in his right arm. The ball gets stripped out of there, and Houston's there to pick it up and take it the other way.
Swearinger had a forced fumble last week against the Redskins, another one here today. And now Houston with golden field position off the turnover. Foster in the backfield. He gets the ball on 1st down, and he is tackled at the 20-yard line. No gain on the play. Miles Burris makes the stop, starting for the injured Nick Roach today.
Yeah, today and a little bit last week, but today in particular, you kind of get the sense of where the Raiders are at. Their defense isn't playing as well as they expected to play, and they're in the rookie quarterback business. That's a tough combination to win football games in the NFL.
th carry of the day for Arian Foster, inching closer to the 100-yard mark, but that'll bring up third down. Foster has 98 yards rushing. If he gets 2 more, it'll be his 27th career 100-yard game.
And 2 for 2 on the season, combined with his 103 yards against the Jets last week. And very, very impressive watching the way that he's bounced back, come back from a very trying and questionable time in his life. He wasn't sure he was going to be able to come back and be the same player.
Third down and 8. Raiders defense needs to force the Texans into a field goal attempt here. Already at 17-0 deficit. Fitzpatrick fires and it's dropped. A flag comes in. DeAndre Hopkins, the intended receiver.
Terrell Brown was in coverage. And Brown is a veteran.
Holding. Defense number 23. 5-yard penalty. Automatic. First down.
And Steve, you and I both, 12 months ago, that's not a flag.
No. It's a new world, this NFL, the way they're calling these penalties down the field on these defensive backs. And you can understand their frustration because it already was much more protective of the offensive players prior to this year compared to college football, even high school football. Now, all of a sudden, they're being told, hey, you can't even really touch these guys out here other than initially at the line of scrimmage.
Rod Streeter, we're being told, has a hip injury. His return is questionable. 1st and 10 following the penalty for the Texans. Fitzpatrick hit as he throws, looking end zone, incomplete. That was Khalil Mack finally getting to the quarterback and applying the pressure on Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Well, the last 2 plays, the Raiders have actually got good pressure on Ryan Fitzpatrick. Right here, you're going to see Khalil Mack off the bottom of your screen. Just a good inside move. His speed, which is one of the things that really sold all NFL scouts on that guy. He not only has he got the strength and the power, man, he's a big man. His arms are like 3 or 4 of mine.
Yeah. Well, Khalil Mack, during the run-up to the draft, was in touch and talked a lot with Jadeveon Clowney and Sammy Watkins, the top 3 picks, and they were talking about who was going to go first, and there was a question about it.
Foster trying to find some room, and he tackled at the 13-yard line, but that carry brings Foster over 100 yards for the 2nd consecutive week.
But just to go back to Khalil Mack real quick, the issue is that this guy has got the potential and the talent to be a special player. And Dennis Allen told us, we're just trying to get him to cut it loose. Just let it go, trust your instincts, and make some plays.
Third down and 8 for Houston. 8:40 to go, third quarter. Fitzpatrick out of the gun. Looking right the entire way. Throws right, and it's caught by Hopkins for a touchdown. 2nd touchdown of the season for DeAndre Hopkins. And the Texans capitalize off the turnover. They go up 23-0.
This is one of those plays quarterbacks and receivers work on over and over again. It's the classic back shoulder throw. What a great example of how to go get the football by Hopkins in a perfect location on the throw. That was excellent coverage by Chekwa. You can't defend the perfect throw.
And when you get across the field and you've got Andre Johnson on the other side, and all of a sudden you see why the Texans, were a playoff team 2 years ago. And that guy wasn't even around at that point. Hopkins is really going to help this offense. And, of course, Fitzpatrick, when you make catches like that, you're going to get more tries to make catches.
And remember, Fitzpatrick did tell us yesterday, when we were talking about Andre Johnson, he was saying, but by the way, the question is right here, that right foot, is that out of bounds? All scoring plays are reviewed, and that's a pretty clear shot.
It's out of bounds there, but was it down before that? Yeah, it was down before that. On the catch when he first caught it, that's the 2nd touch with that foot.
Bullock's extra point is good. Texans up 24-0.
DeAndre Hopkins came down with the ball. You see his right foot on the ground there, and the ball is in the air, and he's got it in his hands, got possession, and then, of course, right there's the second foot right there. And that is a catch. And that's why they went ahead and hit the extra point.
Murray will have to settle for another touchback. 8:29 to go, third quarter. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Gorgeous day in Oakland, but the Raiders trying to get on the scoreboard still. They trail 24-0 with 8:29 to go, third quarter. With Steve Berline and Steve Tasker, I'm Andrew Catalon. We thank you for joining us here. Week 2 of the NFL on CBS. 3 turnovers by Oakland today. That's been a killer as McFadden tries to break one. There's a penalty flag back by the line of scrimmage. McFadden with a big pickup, but his flag is down at the 14-yard line. And the Raiders are walking back towards the line of scrimmage.
Holding. Offense number 61. 10-yard penalty. First down.
It's on the center, Wisniewski.
Right there over the football, right after he snaps it, you'll watch as he tries to scoop block.
I really couldn't see much there, I'll tell you.
I didn't see anything there. They might have got the number wrong, but I don't think there's any way it was on Wisniewski.
Well, even on the cutback, he didn't grab a hold and prevent the defensive lineman from cutting back to make a play.
That wipes out a 21-yard run by McFadden. Murray is the tailback here on 1st and 20. Carr to Jones, and he is forced out at the 14-yard line by Darryl Morris. Inside 8 minutes to go, third quarter. Well, Oakland beat Houston last November 17th, and the Raiders haven't won since. They've lost 7 straight games dating back to last year.
And that gets old. I mean, Derek Carr at this point in the ball game is starting to realize how big the task is going to be to try to find a way to get this ship turned and ride it in the right direction here. It's going to be a very difficult task. He's going to have to be the key part of the task.
2nd and 16, Carr's pass is high and incomplete. That'll bring up 3rd down and long, but there's a penalty flag right next to Derek Carr. It is eerily quiet here in Oakland with the score 24-0.
And the official checking with the Houston bench, so you know this is going to be another Raider penalty.
Illegal use of the hands. Hands to the face. Offense number 66. That penalty is declined. 3rd down.
That calls on the rookie Gabe Jackson. And for the Texans, Jeffrey Pagan a little slow to get off the field.
Right there in the middle of your screen.
He's got a hold of J.J. Watt's face mask right there,
yes. And this year they're more sensitive to that than ever. It used to be that you get your hand up, you took it away immediately, it was not a penalty. Now you don't get that leeway. If your hand in any way gets up around the head or makes contact, it's a penalty.
Saw Jonathan Joseph walking off, headed to the locker room, and moments ago, C.O. Moore also went to the locker room for the Raiders. 3rd down and 16. Carr, incomplete. That pass was short of the intended target. Rivera, J.J. Watt applying the pressure, and the Texans defense with an impressive stand to force a punt.
Well, this is why that fumble by Rivera on the first drive of the second half was so key, because now what you've created is an obvious passing situation. The Houston Texans now can peel their ears back and just play pass all the time. J.J. Watt, when he knows you're going to drop back and pass, he becomes impossible to block.
3rd punt today for Marquette King. Johnson awaiting it at the 42-yard line. Johnson fields it at the 46. And he's tackled at the 45-yard line. Texans going back on offense with 7:07 to go in the 3rd quarter. The Big Bang Theory is time traveling to a new night, Monday, with back-to-back episodes. Don't miss Emmy winner Jim Parsons as the new season begins Monday, September 22nd, only CBS. Texans about to start their third drive of the last 5 in Oakland territory. They've averaged starting at their own 41 today on 1st and 10. Fitzpatrick play action. Has some time, now running left. Flag coming. This one's coming back as the catch was made by Garrett Graham, but there was a hold.
Holding. Offense number 75. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Right tackle Derek Newton, 4th-year player out of Arkansas State.
Well, he was doing his best to hang in there, but it just gets too late in the play. And Woodley just fights him off. And you see there Woodley trying to get away, and he's not happy, throwing his arms up. It was pretty obvious that was going to be called, but Fitzpatrick kept holding on to the football, and Newton just held on to Woodley.
Hey, zig me.
Theo Moore not out there for the Raiders. He is an ankle injury, questionable to return. Mr. Foster, he gets to midfield. Keep in mind the Raiders already thin at linebacker with Nick Roach still not able to pass concussion protocol, sitting out his 2nd straight game.
And as we see Arian Foster continue to pound that ball up inside there, you know that's what Bill O'Brien's going to try and do at this point, is to shorten this game, keep the ball on the ground. They're getting positive yards. Ryan Fitzpatrick's only thrown 17 passes today, but you wonder when we're going to start seeing more of Alfred Blue out there.
Yeah, 24 touches for Foster today. He had 29 last week against Washington. Johnson with the catch, across midfield, some room to run. Andre Johnson with a first down, finally dragged down by Terrell Brown. A pickup of 20 on the play for Andre Johnson.
So that's just a great quick screen to Andre Johnson. He knew when he caught this, the offensive linemen are going to get out in front of him, and when he cuts back inside those blocks, it's a foot race to the sticks for the first down.
And there was the perfect seam, and it happens quick, folks. I mean, you have to have that ball in the receiver's hands quickly, and he's got to go without hesitation. But right there, you saw the kind of seam that's created when the execution is perfect.
Foster trying to cut it inside, and we go back to New York for an update with JB and Coach Coward.
Seattle narrowing the gap.
Yeah, that's how our champions do. They respond. Marshawn Lynch out of the backfield. Linebacker gets picked. Russell Wilson finds him. 14 yards out. Culminates an 8-play, 70-yard drive. Back within 6 points.
Andrew, Steve, and Steve.
Man, it's hard to beat a champion.
It is. They're going to keep coming. They will keep coming, no doubt about it. But I think Phillip Rivers and company realize that.
Foster again across the 25-yard line. Well, Andre Johnson, going back to Johnson, he's got 6 catches for 74 yards, and he's now passed Irving Fryer for 15th all-time in receiving yards. And no doubt Andre Johnson headed to Canton one day, now in his 12th year in the league. Third down and 5 from the 24-yard line for Houston. 4:10 to go, third quarter. Patrick's pass is caught by Hopkins, spins back to the middle, and he's going to be marked short of a first down. That'll bring up 4th for the Texans.
Well, Bill O'Brien, I think, very happy to let that clock run and just take the 3 points here. He's got to be happy with what he's seen so far. This is a Texans team that, when they were a winning football team 2 years ago, was plus 12 in the turnover ratio. Last year, with all the struggles they had, the 2-14 season, they were minus 20 in turnover ratio. This year, being up 3 turnovers on the Raiders, they're now on a plus 5 after 2 weeks, and that's exactly what I think Bill O'Brien believes is the formula for success.
39-yard field goal for Bullock is good from the infield dirt here in Oakland, and Houston extends its lead to 27-0 on the Raiders.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Miller Lite. Back in its original look, it's Miller time. And by Wendy's.
Houston up 27-0. A lot of long faces in Oakland today. Saturday, the Home Depot SEC on CBS rocks when the Florida Gators tangle with the Alabama Crimson Tide. It all begins with college football today. It's next Saturday. Florida and Alabama right here on CBS. Well, Derek Carr told us that his brother, David Carr, the longtime quarterback for the Texans, was going to dress up and sit somewhere in the black hole. David Carr was texting Derek pictures of different costumes he might be wearing. And when we talked with Derek on Friday, he said, I don't know if my brother's joking or not. So there is a chance that David Carr is in the black hole somewhere. And if so, he can't be enjoying what he's seeing as his brother's team is getting shut out 27-0. Murray up to the 20-yard line. Derek Carr coming back out. Is that David? Nobody knows. What a start to this season for Romeo Crennel's defense. He's the defensive coordinator. They've only allowed 6 points, 3 turnovers today. And again, they've done a lot of this without Jadeveon Clowney, who went out in the second quarter in week 1, not playing today. McFadden on the screen has some room to run. Darren McFadden all the way up to the 43-yard line, a pickup of 23.
Well, continue to be impressed by Darren McFadden's effort here. He is not going to let this game and the way this game has gone discourage him from making the best effort he's got. He's taking the ball, turning up the field, looking for people to punish as he's finishing those plays. Very impressed with how he's been playing the second half.
2.5 to go in the third. Right back to McFadden. And he's met by a host of Houston tacklers. Jared Crick, one of the first ones there for the Texans.
You talk about how this game has gone as the Raiders begin to go some no huddle here. They're going to try and establish this run game. Things don't change. You see Cushing fly across the formation to get in on that tackle. This defense for the Texans, coordinated by Romeo Crennel, is playing really good in the first couple of weeks of the season. They've got to feel really good about how this season could turn out.
Carr with time over the middle to Rivera. He's got the first down, spun down by Swearinger and Cushing. Pickup of 10.
Well, Rivera, despite the fact he had the big turnover earlier, is a guy that Reggie McKenzie, general manager, and I think Dennis Allen really have high hopes for. Very athletic tight end, can push it up the field, quick enough to get across a linebacker or safety in a situation like that.
Jay Swearinger has to come off the field.
Yeah, he got hit by Brian Cushing, I think, at the end of that play. Cushing was coming over to clean up Rivera.
First down and 10 for the Raiders. Swing it to Moore, gets away from one, across the 40 and up to the 37-yard line. Merciless makes the stop as we move closer to 1 minute to go in the third quarter, and Derek Carr trying to move this Raider offense.
You talk about how the Raiders have struggled over the years and the draft picks and the things that have happened to this organization, players who have played well for them, players who have not played well for them. But this is a team that had some higher hopes as they brought in some free agents who have been on championship teams on both sides of the football, and today not showing up.
Bryce Butler with his first catch of the season, but here's what Steve Tasker was referencing, a first-round picks for the Raiders, and DJ Hayden and McFadden, the only two still with the team, and Hayden is on IR. So it's been a rough go in terms of the draft for the Oakland Raiders, and they're hoping that this year with Mack and Derek Carr that they get going back in the right direction.
And their third-round pick, Gabe Jackson, starting at left guard as well already from the very first game. So he's a guy they've got high hopes for as well.
Third down and 6. Carr to Rivera right at the stick. Tripped up by Darryl Morris. It's going to depend on the spot whether or not that's a first down. It will be the final play of the third quarter. That's the end of the third, 27-0 Texans.
We spoke a moment ago of this list of players, first-round draft picks of the Raiders who are no longer with the club, and some of these aren't near misses. Some of them are flat-out whiffs. And you look on the other side, of the field. 4 guys in the last 5 years are making significant contributions as front 7 players, although Jadeveon Clowney is now injured. Merciless, Watt, and Cushing. Watt's the best player in the National Football League, maybe at any spot, and Cushing has been fantastic when he's played.
And that's just in their front 7. They've also got other, like their first-round pick from 2010, Kareem Jackson, is the starting cornerback for him as well. And so you can go down the list. They've really done a good job of finding players, developing them, as we watch a big 4th down attempt here for the Raiders.
Yeah, that last play was just short, 4th and 1, and now we have a challenge flag out on the field as Dennis Allen wants to question the spot of this football.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with this. He may not think he's actually going to win, but instead of taking a timeout, he gets a look at the defensive front of the Texans.
Oakland is challenging the ruling on the field relative to the spot and the line to gain.
He gets a chance to look at the defensive front of the Texans while getting the timeout as well, and he may get the timeout. He may get the timeout back.
Call on the field is 4th down. The Raiders challenge the spot. Brad Allen comes out to make the announcement.
After review, the ball was short of the line to gain. The ruling on the field is confirmed. Oakland is charged a timeout and their first challenge. 4th down.
I just don't agree with that challenge. I don't see the merit in that challenge. As we welcome in Mike Carey back in New York. Mike, what'd you see there?
Andrew, I agree with you, Andrew. I think it was a waste of a challenge because it was clear when the elbow was down, the ball was short of the 33-yard line, making it going over on 4th down. So the ruling on the field was confirmed, and rightly so.
And if you have any chance of coming back in this game, I know it's a tall order, but you got to have all your timeouts. Just to waste a timeout there, I don't get it. As Carr keeps it, and they haven't spotted the ball yet.
Mike Carey, let me ask you a quick question.
And it's a first down.
With regard to that, does it matter where the arm hit the ground, where the ball was when the arm hit the ground, or does it matter where the forward progress of the ball was before it hit the ground?
No, because he was touched before he hit the ground, the instant that elbow hit, you freeze the ball at that spot, and that's the dead ball spot. Okay. There's no more access after that.
All right, Mike, we appreciate it. Carr on first down, throws to Moore, and that one is incomplete. Here's one more look, and keep an eye on that elbow.
Yeah, and the question we were both asking is when he's up off the ground, you see the ball kind of goes back towards the other direction as he spins, but to us it might have been out over that line to gain when he was in the air spinning, and when he spun back it went behind the line. So they didn't give him that. But Mike made it clear it doesn't matter.
Second and 10. Carr throws on the run, looking for more, and it's broken up. And a flag comes in. A.J. Boye was on the coverage. And this one's going to go against the Texans.
You know, this is a tough call, I believe, too. Derek Carr, I believe if he had a chance.
Pass interference. Defense number 34. By rule, the ball was placed at the 2-yard line. Automatic. First down.
But I believe that Derek Carr, had he had a chance to set his feet, would have put this ball more out in front of the receiver. But since it was a little bit behind the receiver has to go back for the ball. And Boye is just playing the football. I don't know. That's a tough one to call. You see his arm may have been wrapped around him a little bit, but I think he was just trying to play the ball, and the receiver stopped in front of him.
So it's first and goal for the Raiders, trying to get on the scoreboard for the first time today. Flag down. McFadden running left. He's in the end zone, but let's see what the penalty flag is.
Yeah, this is going to be on the Texans, and this is going to stand. They didn't blow the whistle dead because there was no unabated progress to the quarterback or anything like that. And this
offside. Defense number 58. The penalty is declined. The result of the play is a touchdown.
Penalty on Brooks Reed, so McFadden has his first touchdown of the 2014 season, and finally the Raiders are on the scoreboard.
And look at it, you can see there, they're lined up way off sides. The line of scrimmage looked crooked. It didn't go straight across the field, and yeah, they lined up in the neutral zone. Easy call.
29th career touchdown for McFadden, and the Raiders now down 20 here in the fourth quarter. Raiders are on the scoreboard. They trail 27-7. This Thursday, your football week starts here when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers tangle with the Atlanta Falcons. Big-time matchups go prime time Thursday night football on NFL Network and CBS. Tampa Bay right now is a 14-10 lead on St. Louis. It'll be a showdown with two dynamic wide receivers, Vincent Jackson and Julio Jones. They split the season series last year. DJ Swearinger has a left elbow injury. His return is questionable as Johnson is back deep. Janikowski will kick it away. 14:07 to go. Houston trying to start 2-0 for the 5th straight year. And this will be a touchback, gives us a chance to go back to New York. An NFL update with JB and Coach Cowher.
21 unanswered by Green Bay.
Yeah, the last one right here. You can see Randall Cobb rolling out by Aaron Rodgers, finds him in the end zone. 1-yard touchdown pass. Scuffle after the game. Right now, we got a football game in Green Bay.
Packers up by 3 late in the third. Back to Andrew, Steve.
Big comeback there at Lambeau.
You know, the great ones just have that ability to keep their team in it, find a way to come on back. Aaron Rodgers definitely qualifies.
First 2 drives for Houston, 150 yards, but since then, 109 yards of offense. In fact, the Raiders have more yards today than the Texans, yet they trail by 20 points. Now, Ryan Fitzpatrick in his 10th year, and that is just
a 10-year-old beard there, man.
All-pro beard. He said he actually trimmed the sides recently, but the bottom, that's just not going anywhere for a while. And he told us that his idol in life. That's a quote, by the way.
Yes, it was.
You could hide a bird. You could hide a bird's nest in Brett Kiesel's beard. I mean, that's a thing of beauty.
Fitzpatrick is such a funny guy. In fact, Dwayne Brown, the starting left tackle, says that Fitzpatrick's humor really has a calming effect in the huddle. But we had a chance to meet with Ryan for a while yesterday, and so smart, obviously at Harvard, but he has really got a great sense of humor.
Yeah, and one of the first things he told us when he got in to speak with us, and you know, he's been in, like we said, 5 teams in his career. He said what an incredibly good locker room the Texans have, with the veteran leadership, good humor. The guys seem to be pulling in the right direction. There's a good sense of affection for the teammates, and don't be surprised if that kind of attitude carries this team through a really nice season going forward.
And the big number again for Fitzpatrick is 0. Did not turn the ball over last week, has not turned the ball over this week. Texans just trying to work some clock now, keeping the ball on the ground.
We mentioned it earlier too, Andrew, talking about how he looks at this opportunity, almost like the stars were aligned. This is the best opportunity for success that he's ever had in his career. And he's saying this in his 9th year, but he's saying it because of the talent surrounding him. And not just talk about the obvious talent, just the linemen, the second and third wide receivers, the depth at running back, the defense. All these things have come together and given him a chance, what he believes is to make a run through the playoffs.
Keeping it on the ground with Foster, and he gets close to a first down. The 28th carry today for Arian Foster, and he has had quite a day here in Oakland.
This guy has calmed any critics that were out there before with this performance the first 2 weeks of this season. Coach O'Brien really made a point to keep him fresh through training camp. A lot of people were questioning whether or not it was a smart move to not let him take some hits during the preseason, but you look at what's happened week 1 and week 2 today, 138 yards last week, 103 yards. I think Bill O'Brien knows what he's doing, and Arian Foster is the beneficiary of some good decision making.
He's going to get a breather here. It's Alfred Blue on the carry. He gets across midfield.
The interesting thing is you see the 28 carries. Well, the thing you got to remember, he carried it 27 times last week, and some guys will go a month without carrying the football that much. That is a lot of touches for a football player playing running back in the National Football League, because 90% of the times when he touches the ball, he's getting hit, and he's getting hit hard. And that adds up over a long season. And this early in the season, have that many carries, that's probably the only thing you kind of shrug your shoulders and think, wow, I wonder if that'll come back to haunt them.
Well,
Good news for the Texans is they do have 4 running backs active. Alfred Blue is in here. You've seen Jonathan Grimes. They also have the veteran Ronnie Brown. This is Blue here, and he gets out close to a first down.
Well, my gut tells me that Arian Foster is probably not going to come back into this ballgame. You see him walking back to the bench right there. I would be surprised because of the amount of carries in week 1 and week 2 if we see him again.
Blue has the first down. And he gets across the 35-yard line. And again, Houston just milking this clock.
And you can see even the body language of the Raiders. The Raiders run in 3 fresh defensive linemen. This is a defense that is absolutely spent. They bring in Justin Ellis, Stacy McGee off the bench to spell these guys, along with Wilson as well. So they've got some. And this is a defense that's been out there all afternoon.
It's an aging defense as well. It's the oldest in the NFL in terms of age. And some of the veterans they brought in, like Justin Tuck and Lamar Woodley and Antonio Smith, these are guys that are in their 10th year. Woodley in his 8th year. Well, you know, they needed to bring in that kind of veteran leadership in the one sense to try to change the culture here in Oakland, but it also can work against you on a long day like this.
Well, when you got Charles Woodson in the secondary, he's got 17 years. I mean, it kind of throws your average off a little bit as well.
I was going to say he's 52, isn't he? He came in the same year you did, didn't he? I mean,
yeah, I mean that does throw, but you know, you got to think too, Charles Woodson, he can play. I mean, this isn't a guy who these guys are coming in here at the end of their careers. You see there the time of possession has been obviously completely unbalanced.
All 8 plays on this drive have been on the ground for the Texans, making 9 in a row now for Houston as Alfred Blue continues to get the ball, and this clock continues to dwindle down, 8:40 and counting.
Well, Woodson right there, we're cracking fun at him here a little bit, but what an incredible career this guy has had. He made the tackle on that play. With his next interception touchdown, he'll be the all-time leader, or defensive touchdown, he'll be the all-time leader in defensive scores. He's the active leader in interceptions in the NFL by a long shot. I think D'Angelo Hall is within 24 of him. He's got 57 career touchdown or career interceptions, by far the most among current players. But what an extremely impressive young man he is. We say young man, he's an old man for football now, right. But what an incredible career and sure thing Hall of Famer.
And even so, guys like Khalil Mack, a young player with a lot of energy, comes in and he talked about how Charles Woodson had imparted a number of wise things for him to look at and do, as well as Justin Tuck, the guy who came over from the Giants. These veteran players they brought in aren't just guys. They're guys who have taken the young players on the defensive side under their wing. Now, they're not going to have much to show for it today, and they've got a long way to go before this is a Raider defense that is in the upper echelon of the National Football League. But certainly that guy, Khalil Mack, along with Justin Tuck, they've got talented players over there.
There is a flag down with 7:22 to go in the fourth quarter. Every play of this drive for Houston has been on the ground. 11 runs for 58 yards as we wait to see what the call is here. Dennis Allen in his 3rd year with the Raiders.
And it's going to be interesting to see what happens, as a result of this game. I think a lot of people were looking at this game as an important one for, we see a penalty called against the Texans here.
Personal foul, illegal chop block by non-adjacent lineman, the center and the tackle of the offense. That's the 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Remains first down.
Well, we'll look at it here.
Well, this in the center, see the center comes over and engages the defender high, and the left tackle cuts him, and that's illegal.
Yes, that's a recipe for an injury for a defensive lineman. It's been a major point of emphasis in the NFL for the last several years.
7:15 and counting for Houston. You talk about the pressure of this game for Oakland, Steve Berline. Look at what they have coming up. They got to go to New England, another East Coast trip next week. Then they're going to stay out east and just fly to London for their Week 4 game against Miami. So it's a brutal stretch coming up for the Raiders. This was their home opener with the crowd into it, sellout. Took us forever to get here this morning because of the traffic. They were all pumped up in Oakland, and now this was the one that they said, all right, we get this one, but it's going to be a tough month now for the Raiders.
Yeah, they changed the traffic patterns around the stadium. We are not pleased. It was, I mean, it was rough getting in. Steve Berline getting in. It was a play at the plate for Steve Berline to actually make air today.
Well, that's not unusual.
Blew on the carry to the 35. Well, Berline did make a pit stop on the way here. How about that? Tasker's ripping on you. You brought 7 burgers to the booth, and Tasker's saying you were late getting here.
Yeah, you know, I stopped to get In-N-Out burgers for my teammates up here in the booth. I bought 7 of them, and all I get is grief.
Get grief.
Come on.
No, I'm on your side there.
See where that gets you, Mr.
There
Tasker.
it is, right there. I mean, look at that.
Burgers.
So you had 10 of them. Only 7 of them made it up to the booth.
It was a lot of traffic out there.
Say.
There was a lot of traffic.
You had to pay.
It took me a while to get here.
He had to pay the toll to get up here.
3rd and 24 for Houston, and they're going to keep it on the ground with Grimes. He gets to the 29-yard line with 5.5 to go. Branch makes the tackle. Now we'll see what they do. Are they going to send Bullock out? Yes, they will.
This will be about a 47-yarder when all is said and done, and that's off the dirt.
Bullock is 2 for 2 today. He's made 15 straight field goals dating back to last year. 3rd year out of Texas A&M. This will be officially from 46 for Bullock. And it's just where the grass meets the dirt. And Bullock's streak is alive. 3 for 3 now for Randy Bullock. And the Texans take a 30-7 lead on the Oakland Raiders here, Week 2 of the NFL on CBS. Randy Bullock's 3rd field goal has given the Texans a 30-7 lead on the Oakland Raiders. 4:46 to go in the 4th quarter. Another impressive day for Ryan Fitzpatrick. 14 of 19, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no turnovers by Fitzpatrick. Murray's going to give this a go for Oakland out of his own end zone. And he is tripped up, stays on his feet though, to the 15, and finally tackled by Morris at the 17. We're back to Oakland right after this. 30-7, Houston in front of Oakland. Next Sunday, the NFL on CBS features doubleheader excitement. First, the Texans take on the Giants while the Raiders rumble with the Patriots. Then it's a super showdown when the Broncos battle the Seahawks. Check your local listings. And of course, it all begins with JB, Tony, Bart, Coach, and Boomer on the NFL Today, presented by Southwest Airlines. This score holds. It'll be the 2-0 Texans against the 0-2 New York Giants. Again, next Sunday on CBS. 1st and 10 for the Raiders. Derek Carr out of the shotgun. And that pass is caught by Rivera. And the Raiders going to try to go no huddle here with no other choice, trailing by 23. Carr's pass incomplete. Well, 2004, when Derek Carr was in middle school, of course, his brother David Carr, the quarterback of the Texans. How about this? The halftime entertainment was the kids against the mascots. Derek Carr at quarterback for the kids, and it was actually a tough day for Derek Carr. He told us that Toro had a big blitz on Derek, and obviously Derek spent part of his childhood growing up down in Houston. 3 years of high school down there, Clements High School. And how about this? Brooks Reed. And the Texans are getting the ball back. That's the 4th turnover of the day by Oakland.
Now if you're Oakland, there's one player on the field that should not be unblocked. And in fact, Dennis Allen said that J.J. Watt off the edge there was going to have 700 pounds on him all day, meaning 2 people on him all day. Right there, nobody. Derek Carr did not have any idea that J.J. Watt was coming, and I'll tell you that the Raiders were very fortunate, and they're tending to Derek Carr a little bit over there on the sideline right now, but they are very fortunate that he was not hurt on that play, because I don't know if you know it, but J.J. Watt's a big man, and he's fairly athletic, and when he hits you, you usually feel it.
Yeah, not only am I aware of it, I think Derek Carr's aware of it right now as well.
Ryan Mallett is in at quarterback now for the Texans. Ryan Fitzpatrick's day is done. Mallett, of course, acquired in that trade with the Patriots on August 31st. We had a chance to talk with Bill O'Brien about Mallett yesterday. Of course, he was with Mallett in New England, and he said that Mallett has the best arm he's ever seen. And he thinks that the future is very bright for Ryan Mallett.
Now, Ryan Mallett is 6'7". All right, and I was fortunate to cover a few of his games when he was playing at Arkansas, and Bill O'Brien is right. This kid can really spin the football. Had a couple of character-related issues early going, but I think he's proven himself over his time in New England, and when Bill O'Brien made the trade for him, I think they're hoping down the road he's going to be their quarterback of the future.
Just his 5th career game, he hands off to Ronnie Brown. He gets a couple on the play.
And if you talk to anybody about what Ryan Mallett has done in his time at New England, it's pretty complimentary. And they say he becomes a clone of Tom Brady. He practices like him, he looks like him, acts like him, and has obviously spent a lot of time in the meeting room with Tom Brady and gotten to know what it is to be an elite quarterback, how they act, how they lead. And it'll be interesting to see how much of that translates into Ryan Mallett's future.
And the Texans are going to have some decisions at the end of the year, too, and they could be all good decisions. Mallett's a free agent as Ronnie Brown runs on third down, but don't forget they also drafted Tom Savage in the 4th round out of Pittsburgh, and they're high on him. He's inactive today as Ryan Fitzpatrick's day is done. It's exactly what they want from Fitzpatrick. No turnovers, 2 touchdowns, and the big lead for the Texans.
Well, if you're only going to throw it 19 times, don't turn it over. That's the perfect day. Think about across the league in the recent history of the league. Ben Roethlisberger won a Super Bowl having numbers like that all year.
Randy Bullock out for his 4th field goal attempt of the day. He's 3 for 3 so far. This one from 27 yards. And the kick is blocked. So the Raiders special teams comes up with a blocked field goal, and the score remains 30-7. That takes us to the 2-minute warning here in Oakland. And the score still Houston 30, Oakland 7. Justin Tuck with the block. Tonight on 60 Minutes, why is Alabama's college football team a perennial powerhouse? Hear from their coach, Nick Saban. That's tonight only on 60 Minutes. 1:55 to go in the 4th quarter. Houston looking to improve to 2-0 for the 5th consecutive year, and this would be the Raiders' 8th straight loss dating back to last season. Carr still in there, and his pass is caught by Andre Holmes for a first down.
And now what are the coaches looking at right now when they talk about Derek Carr? You're looking at his competitiveness. You're looking at whether he can keep his team working hard, focusing, and trying to find a way to get in the end zone. That's how you earn the respect of your teammates.
And early on in this side of the team, when I retired, I had a chance to cover Peyton Manning early in his career. In fact, it was his 2nd year in the National Football League, and he told me something I'll never forget. He said, I learned a lot of really good football in the 4th quarter of some really bad football games in his rookie year when they went 3-13 when Peyton Manning was a rookie, and then followed it up with a 13-3 year the next year. But these are not wasted snaps for Derek Carr.
Carr to Holmes again at midfield and a first down, pickup of 15.
Yeah, standing strong in the pocket. I do believe in general his offensive line has done a pretty good job up front of keeping him from getting too dirty, taking too many hits. The only times that I think the Texans have put any real pressure on him when they brought extra guys, or that one time they left J.J. Watts unblocked. But pretty good effort up front by the Raiders offensive line.
Yeah, no sacks for either team today. Carr has time here, and it's dropped by Denarius Moore. Well, here's a look at the upcoming schedule for the Texans. We mentioned next week a trip to New York to face the 0-2 Giants in their home for Buffalo, who went to 2-0 today, and that's followed by at Dallas, Indianapolis, at Pittsburgh, at Tennessee. And that Tennessee game, the Indianapolis game is Thursday Night Football. 1 minute to go, fourth quarter. Pass is deflected and incomplete. Jared Crick was looking at a pick six there, but it's not going to happen.
You know, we came out of that meeting with Bill O'Brien yesterday, and I think at this point you got to feel that his method, his planning, and everything else is working according to the way he wanted it to. But he told us the key. I want you to listen. There's 5 keys of the game today. 1, must deal with crowd noise. He checked that box, got that taken care of. 2, run the ball, not sideways. 45 carries today. Third down is big, he said. They've done very well on third down, almost 80%. And then no turnovers, and take advantage of field position. All 5 of the things he mentioned to us yesterday, he's come through with the first team.
And also a big week for O'Brien and his former team as Penn State got news that their postseason ban was lifted. We asked O'Brien about that. He said he felt so great when he heard that news for the kids at Penn State who worked so hard while he was their head coach, and now they can be rewarded for the players who are still there. So that was big news for Bill O'Brien this week. He's about to improve to 2-0. Carr back to Holmes, tackled immediately by Boye. Derek Carr, 23 out of 36 today for 226 yards and those 2 interceptions. Something Fitzpatrick did not do for the second straight game, keeping it clean for this Texans offense.
And you start looking at these two teams, particularly the Texans, as they go to 2-0. What is the recipe going to be to beat a team like that? Their defense is playing extremely good, particularly up front, even though they were held without a sack today.
Moore makes this catch, good for an Oakland first down.
And it rolls down to the fact that, and game is a great example of it, if you're going to turn the football over, and if your defense can't get off the field, you're going to struggle to win games. Houston is doing just the opposite of that. Their defense has got off the field during this game, and their offense did not turn it over. And those playmakers for Houston came through big.
Raiders call timeout with 38 seconds remaining, and we mentioned this. Their upcoming schedule is tough. At New England, they're going to stay in Foxborough after the game and then fly overnight to London to take on Miami. The Raiders will travel the most miles of any team in the league this year, 36,000 miles. That's more than 10,000 more than any other team. So they got the East Coast trips, and that's been well documented. They've lost 14 straight games in the Eastern time zone, going back there next week to Foxborough. Then they got to go to London. It's a challenging upcoming schedule for Dennis Allen and the Raiders. 1 timeout remaining for Oakland. From the 20. Carr's pass is broken up. Getting a hand on that one is the rookie Andre Howe out of Vanderbilt. Carr's pass through the hands of Bryce Butler, and it's been that kind of day for Oakland. Some boos here from the fans who still remain.
I think, Andrew, when you look at these two teams right now, the Raiders are going to go for it. Well, it's 3rd and 10 here, but when you look at both these teams, Bill O'Brien's team has not beaten themselves. And I think that's one of the first things that all established coaches want. They do not want to beat themselves. And I think the groundwork has been laid. The Raiders have not quite yet learned how to do that. With a young quarterback, that's going to be a challenge.
And Holmes makes the catch.
They truly have beaten themselves today with the turn. If they could have converted 1 or 2 of those great drives they had earlier in the game that ended with the unfortunate turnovers, they could have made a game out of this.
Yeah, that's interesting. They didn't beat the Houston Texans didn't beat themselves today, and that's all it took. I mean, that's really all it took today. And that's you gotta ask more of yourselves if you're the Oakland Raiders in a game like this.
4th down and 5 for Oakland, and we have a flag and a delay of game call against the Raiders.
Delay of game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
We've seen a little bit of everything here in Oakland today. We even saw J.J. Watt with his first career catch and first career receiving touchdown. Watt also applying the pressure on Carr here in the 4th quarter. J.J. Watt, the $100 million man, and he is had a great start to this 2014 season.
Well, he's a rare piece of work, that guy.
Carr on 4th down, and that pass is caught by James Jones with his forward progress. They're going to give him a 1st down.
You talk about J.J. Watt, and he signed that contract, and Bill O'Brien told us when he signed it the next day he was in the office at 3 a.m.
They wanted to get in the weight room, and they changed the code on the weight room. He had to call somebody to get in the weight room.
And it's interesting because he really, truly wants to make people think he's underpaid. And he's well on his way.
And by all accounts, everywhere across the board, that is exactly what it is. That was a good deal for the Texans because he is the most disruptive force by far in the NFL.
And he's very humble. That money hasn't changed him. In fact, he joked that he actually Googled, what do rich people buy? And the first thing that came up was private islands. And he said, well, that's Oprah money. That's not my money. The only thing that he bought with this new contract was a couple of beds for his brothers at Wisconsin.
Yeah, college
they
football
are football
players,
and he wanted to have them a good, comfortable bed. But that's really the only thing that Watt has done different.
The guy slept on a mattress in a buddy's dining room all off season so he could train. So when I say he's a different kind of cat, that's true.
Carr to the end zone, and it's caught by James Jones for a touchdown. With 13 seconds remaining, 2nd touchdown of the season for James Jones.
Well, there you go. James Jones, obviously a factor in a negative way earlier in the ball game, but he's shown the last 2 weeks that he can go up and get a football. He had that circus catch in week 1 that got the Raiders within 5 points of the New York Jets. Right here going up against good defense for the ball. Give Derek Carr credit as well, giving his teammate a chance to go up and make a play on that ball. Very well done.
Well, you got to tip your hat to Derek Carr trying to keep getting better in the midst of a game that seems it's out of reach.
Extra point is good. Coming up here on CBS, little bonus coverage of Kansas City and Denver. 2:55 to go 4th quarter, and the Broncos holding on to just a 7-point lead. So that's coming up here on CBS. Well, you talked about Derek Carr not quitting. That's just not in his blood. Here's a kid that wants to work, studies hard. He talked to Justin Tuck and Lamar Woodley on the defensive side of the ball. So what makes quarterbacks good? What is it about the best that you've faced in your long careers that makes them good? And their answer was, the best quarterbacks take what the defense gives them. And that's, Derek Carr is always listening for different opinions on how he can get better. And don't underestimate the relationship he's had with his brother. David Carr has done so much to help Derek. Even last year at Fresno State, David Carr would take video of the opposing team, break down the film with his brother. That relationship has done wonders for Derek Carr, and he hopes it blossoms here now in the NFL.
And you see there Matt Schaub, who was brought over from the Houston Texans. Interestingly enough, David Carr, Derek's older brother, was the guy that Matt Schaub took over for in Houston when he came over from Atlanta, and now Derek Carr really surprisingly outplayed Matt Schaub in the preseason to take his job.
And when they were told that Derek Carr was going to be the starting quarterback, the first person he heard from was Matt Schaub, congratulating him, saying, I'm going to do whatever I can do to help you become a better quarterback.
Onside kick, and there's a flag down. The Raiders are 0 for their last 18 on onside kick attempts. They haven't recovered since December of 2008. Janikowski just 2 for 24 on onside kicks in his career, so that's not been one of his strong suits.
I'll say this, though, that's a lot of onside kicks going on.
24.
Listen, I played 13 years. I had 3.
There are fouls on both teams on the play. Offside, number 65 of the kicking team. Offside, number 67 of the receiving team. There was also a free kick out of bounds. Those penalties will offset. Free kick.
Tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes and Alabama's head coach Nick Saban. That's followed by a new episode of Big Brother and then the season finale of Unforgettable. Tonight only, CBS. So the Raiders are going to get another chance here with Janikowski to try another onside kick.
But just to wrap up that conversation on Derek Carr, you know, I think the point we're trying to make here is that this is a kid that's going to do whatever it takes to be as great as he can be. He takes a lot from his brother David and his experience, but everybody he comes in contact with, he realizes that they've got more experience from him. And what he's going to do is take notes and file it all away and create his own plan for how to be as good as he can be. And that attitude is infectious and very impressive, and it will pay off for him down the road.
Yeah, if you're in an NFL locker room, if the most important players are the hardest working players, you're going to get pretty good results because everybody will start matching their effort. And if it's your quarterback, particularly a young guy like Carr, people will fall in with that and join him in their effort to win games.
Another onside kick here by Janikowski. And Keyshawn Martin thought he had it corralled for Houston. And now the officials trying to sort out the pile, and it's Houston football. And that will do it. So the Texans went 357 days between wins. Week 2 last year to week 1 this year, and how they go with their second straight under Bill O'Brien. Texans go to 2-0 for the 5th consecutive year. And the Raiders now 0-2 with a date at New England next week, a game you'll see on CBS. Raiders cannot stop the clock. All the Texans have to do is take a knee, and that will do it from here in Oakland. Bill O'Brien goes to 2-0 with the Texans. The final score, Texans 30, Raiders 14. For Steve Tasker, Steve Berline, this is Andrew Catalon saying so long. Now it's time for the NFL Today update. Let's go to James Brown in New York.